Did this arrive at your doorstep? Was it something you pursued? How did it kind of enter your life?
Yeah, it did arrive at my doorstep, and I read the script. I was doing a show in L.A., and I read the script, and that night, as a matter of fact, I read it very fast that night, which is unusual, and I called my agent the next day. I said, get me an interview. I want to do this. And I had 1 day off. And I flew to New York and met Oren, and the rest is history.
Well, it strikes me with the way that Oren directed the film. It's done in such a unique way. It feels like it elevated it beyond what must have been on the page. But when you read the page, what spoke to you most about it?
The subject matter, the character, his plight, his desire to help another person who is in the same situation.
Right. Well, also something that I'm curious about, because homelessness has been an epidemic for so long, but I know the public, their consciousness and their awareness of the epidemic needs to be kind of stoked and renewed every now and then. So when you have shown this film for festival audiences, which I'm sure you've attended some of those screenings, what have you taken away from what they have received from the film?
Well, mostly from the people that have seen it so far, they've been moved by it, like yourself. What they take away, I do not know. And as far as what they do, I do not know. My want is that they go back to their communities and they have discussions and they come up with a solution. Like, for example, in Utah, I understand that they're not giving them a hand up, they're giving them a hand up by bringing them into homes. I understand, I don't know if it's true, but they tell me they're bringing them homes, they're getting them medical attention, they're making them more a viable part of society, back into society, showing them a doorway in instead of a doorway out.
What I think is so valuable about the movie is it actually, and I love films that do this, it seems that it's more concerned with putting the audience within that environment in a very visceral way. It's more concerned with that than, the general mechanics of plot that you see in most films. And I think that's so valuable for something like this.
Beautiful, you got it. That's what Orton wanted to do. We didn't want to blame anybody. We didn't point the finger at anybody. Just say, this is the day in the life. This is what it's like. We feel this.
And tell me how, because I've read a little bit about his approach to shooting, and did he shoot a lot of times at great distances from you, so you could kind of
yes, he did.
Interact with the environment? Yeah.
Yes, he did. A lot. Well, as an actor, it freed us. You used to have the camera right in your face. You go, where's the camera? Oh, I was 3 miles away. Okay, got it.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can feel that in the film. And one other thing I was wondering is, you're a legendary performer, both on stage and screen, and I know that movement plays a major role in what you do and in building a character. So I'm wondering how you set about to physicalize your character in this film. Dixon found it fine. My characters find themselves. I allow them the entrance into me, and they must dictate which way they want to go. Dixon sort of just showed up one day on the set, and that was it. And he was into it, and I just followed him. And I find that with most characters that I've had the opportunity of doing, that they find themselves in me. I don't go looking for them. I'll have an idea what I want. I may think in my mind, I like for Chicken George. I think it's Chicken George, so I got to get a rooster. And all of a sudden one day I found myself walking in that posture. And I remember certain things of people in my life that are similar in their posture. The leading player on Pippin and being on Broadway, that whole carriage of him. Louis Armstrong, his whole carriage, what he must have been like. And they entered into my existence, and Dixon did too.
Well, I understand completely what you're saying, but as an actor, when you're attempting to channel a character like that, and I'm sure this comes from the many decades of experience that you've had in the field, but is the main challenge to kind of get out of your own way to allow that to happen?
Always. I think I can speak for other actors, I know for myself, the battlefield is between the ears.
Yeah.
And what happens is the monkey goes crazy, the monkey mind. And when the monkey mind goes nuts, it kind of gets in this way of the character coming forward. And the idea is, is to quiet the monkey mind, to allow the expression, and without question, once you've read the manual, someone said, throw it away and trust the instincts to be right. Mm-hmm. The director is there, if he's of any sort, will say, that's great, that's what I need, or that's not what I need, or can you go this way? And then follow that. But you got to be open and receptive to that. When you come in with a block, and you stop yourself, say, well, this is the way it is, then you're not organic. You're not organic to the character, you're not fair to the character, you're not fair to yourself, nor to this. I feel.
Mm. Can I ask you, before I let you go, can I ask you about two people with whom you've known and worked?
Yes.
The first person that I want to ask about, since I was a child, he's been my favorite entertainer, and that's Sammy Davis Jr. And he gave you your first one of your first big breaks, didn't he?
First acting role. We were in Chicago doing a show called Golden Boy, and now I had no understudy rehearsal, and Sammy had hired me to be his understudy, but Hilly Elkins had hired another gentleman named Lonnie Satin to be the understudy to Sammy. So Sammy said, well, you be my second understudy, and you'll understudy Lonnie Satin, who played Billy Daniels, and Billy Daniels' role in the play, in the musical. And one afternoon, he'd been running around, because I was right around the time when Martin Luther King had been assassinated. So he was busy in Chicago keeping down the riots. So he was exhausted. He came to the theater, he did the first act, and he said, I can't do the second act, and threw me on stage. It was the first time I actually went on stage and played character, and that was the Billy Daniels role. I played it as a son of Billy Daniels, and that was my first standing ovation because of Sammy Davis Jr. Thank you, Sammy.
Absolutely. And when I see him, just like when I see you, and really all performers who are at the top of their game, I just feel unbridled joy. I mean, from them. So he's always been very special to me. Thank you. The second creative force that I want to ask you about, of course, is Bob Fosse. And I am, obviously I'm a movie geek, so I really only have exposure to part of his art, which is the films that he left us. But I can't think of a director that left more blood, sweat, and tears in his work than Fosse. And I was wondering what that dynamic was in working with him both for the stage and on film.
Well, Fosse gave me style. What I mean by that, for example, I did a play called Jesus Christ Superstar, directed by Tom Horgan. And in the production, I played the role of Judas. And when we opened in New York, the newspapers, the New York Times says, Jesus Christ Superstar. Jeff Binholt, who plays Jesus, gets lost in the scenery. Ben Vereen, who plays Judas Iscariot, tears up the scenery looking for him. That was my style. And then I got to Bob, and Bob quieted me down. He said, I want you to go and read books on people like Bojangles and Jimmy Slide and all the early African-American actors. He said, we're going to put this character lead and play together. And that's how my style developed. Less is more.